Hey, welcome back to another episode of Around the Table. So glad that you're here. If you're watching live on our Facebook feed, welcome. We're glad you're here. And if you are watching live and you want to send some comments our way, we'd love for you to do that. If you have a question, you can always do that as well. Part of the fun about Around the Table is we do answer some questions, and you can send them in. If not, I have to make them up, so it'd be better if you would just send me some more questions. You can text the word questions to 276-451-2621, or you can just go to hf.church/questions and submit a question. Just wanted to throw that out there as we get started. But hey, let me not wait any longer to introduce this awesome group of people I have with us today. We've got Dave Cross back for round two.
Good to be back, James.
You've survived round one and came back. That's great. We've got Lindsey Lawson with us as well.
Hey guys, nice to be here. Great to have this conversation with you guys.
Lindsey is a Zoom pro on the Simple Rhythms online page, so if you want to watch that, let's see, what's that? Sunday nights at 6 o'clock. They can tune into that, and that's fun. And then a newcomer to the online space, the man himself, Jim Flemming. Hey, Jim.
Hey, James. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have Jim on here. I asked him the other day if he would be on, and he said, I think I can do this. And I said that I believed in him, and it's going to be great. So, hey, it's kind of tradition lately around here on Around the Table, since we're not around an actual table. One day, we're going to all just hang out. It's going to be amazing. But until then, let's start with Lindsey. How are you doing in this time? How have things been? How's your family?
Well, I'll just say, praise the Lord, school is over. It was over yesterday. It was the last day of work from home and distance learning. So I'm a teacher by trade, but teaching school to your own 5-year-old at home is different, especially when you're working, and I have a baby, so a 10-month-old. So I'm thankful that school is over, and I feel like we can settle into a little bit of a more normal routine, not so busy. So it's been good. We've been good here. My husband was able to work from home, so we settled in to a routine kind of early on, and we're able to manage things. Of course, we had our moments for sure. There were times when I was like, gosh, I married the right man. I'm so sure that I did. And there are a few times I thought, well, maybe he should go on down the road. I think we all got there. But the girls adapted pretty good. So overall, we've been pretty good. We've missed our parents and grandparents for sure, and that's been difficult. And of course, I'm our circles coordinator. I'm a people person. I help people make relationships. So it's been interesting to find new ways to do that through Zoom and different contacts. But we've been good.
And that's so true, when you're responsible for people gathering, basically, right? Whether they're meeting somewhere, meeting at one of our campuses, or getting together and doing things and events and women's gatherings and mops, and that all has had to change in this season. But I love that we've been able to adapt to those things. We haven't, Mark likes to say this, Pastor Mark at NCC, we didn't close. The church didn't close. We're not gone. We're still here. And yeah, we're same thing with small groups. And I wonder, man, if we're not having maybe in some ways some greater engagement and community with people because there are so many less barriers and because there's less going on.
Hey, I definitely have seen that. And, I've heard people say the church is deployed. Well, our circles got deployed, and it's been great to see some of them and how they came together, packing bags for soldiers, just different things that they were able to do, love on neighbors, mow people's yards, just really care for people during this time. So it was good to see that the church was still here. It just was deployed. It just looks a little different, but it's been good to see people continue to connect for sure.
That's great. Jim, what about you? How have things been for your world?
Yeah, we're learning. We're learning to deal. Teresa, she's still working every day, and I've learned to do Zoom very well, and not only here but with our family that's in California. So I'm kind of on the flip end of where Lindsey is with grandparents. We can't see our grandchildren right now either in California. That's probably been the hardest thing for us because we try to stay very close to them. But again, Zoom has enabled us to do that. And then, daily, we've just learned, how to be flexible. The new term is how to pivot fast, how to change, and we've had to do that, at Highlands. Zoom has been incredibly helpful as we begin each morning, our leadership team at 9:00 with the daily meeting to go over what's changed, from the day before, and what has happened within our governments, within our states, and also how does that apply to us, and what do we need to do differently. So we've been doing that every day, and we've we actually, I think, enjoy doing that. We look forward to it in the mornings. The whole team looks really forward to my charts. They give me a lot of hard time about that, but it's okay.
You're like the master of charts, master of Excel sheets and PowerPoint.
Yeah. We all laughed because we could see that. I have a visual of that.
It's sad, isn't it?
That's good.
Hey, somebody's got to do it, and it's not going to be me.
Yeah. We've learned to not watch the news a lot. So that's one of the things, Teresa, where we kind of help each other, stay away from that.
Yeah, that's true. I'm one of those people too. It's like I got to get off Twitter. I got to stop. There's so many rabbit trails I can chase, and there's only so much I can actually do.
Yeah, for sure.
That's good. Dave, how are you? How are things going for your fam?
Doing great. All of us, doing a lot of work from home. And being home, we get to do a lot of work at home around the house and get things done that we've kind of let go. Of course, last week with the beautiful weather that we had, being able to get outside and do a lot of work outside, and then of course, God has blessed us so far this week with rain, and so being able to do some stuff inside. I'm still looking for those. I know today, we talk about the message of being prayer, of finding out who is keep praying for prayer. Yeah, so there's a good God, just pour it out. So God is doing that. So, but anyway, God knows what we need. But yeah, even from us working at home, we've still got our ministries that we have to do. Still going out into communities, doing the snack pack for our schools. Today we just got to in Marion of feeding Richardson Ambulance Service lunch for them. So we've had different things each week that we've been able to do, still reaching out in our community. And even though like I say, we're not meeting physically, we're excited about here Sunday after next of being able to gather together once again, and limited that with what we have to do. But our ministry still go on. We've still got things that we have doing. I know even during this time, myself, of having people that are in their community that needs counseling that we have to talk to, that is really, having a tough time during this time. So, still having to do that with meet those and talk with them and counsel them. So, it keeps going on, doesn't it?
It does. The world keeps moving, even as chaotic as it can be. There's still things that are happening, and man, I'm grateful for all of our campus leaders, campus pastors, our care teams. You guys have, we've tried to highlight that some in our weekend gatherings of just all the stuff that's happening in our community, feeding people, feeding police officers, feeding ambulance services, schools, all that has continued, and some of it even in a greater way because of this pandemic. And I love seeing that, and we love sharing that with people, to know that your generosity is going a long way, even as maybe you can't get out. I know for me, I have type 1 diabetes, and I've tried to stay away from people to not get sick. And so, but I'm grateful for people who are able to go out and serve our community and serve those people who are, in our hospitals and all that stuff. stuff. It's incredible to see all the ministry that takes place. So, if you're watching this and you're like, what are they even doing? It's like, hey, we're in the community. We're all over the place. We're all over the place online. I've had so many conversations with people, virtually, whether it's through Zoom or Google Hangouts or just texting with people or chatting on Facebook. Man, people, if you comment on something, people are quick to comment back, right? Because they're at home, right? They're around. You don't have to wait for a reaction. Speaking of reactions and how we react, we just finished week 5, Faith in the Fire. So we're kind of finishing up our James series and moving into some other things in the coming weeks, which are going to be awesome. But before we jump into all that, let's go back and we can talk about this last message, which really was about prayer, but also just about this whole series of how are we doing? I just pulled up the outline from the first week, which at the end, Pastor Allen kind of said, how do you rate your maturity, right? Are you positive under pressure? Are you sensitive to what people need? Can you manage your mouth? Are you a troublemaker or a peacekeeper? And are you patient and prayerful? And so my question maybe to all of us to kind of walk through is just like, how are we doing in these things? What stuck out for you in the series, and what are some challenges maybe that I know for me, there's some stuff that I just wasn't considering, and now I am because of this awareness. So, anybody that wants to jump in first, you can go for it.
Go ahead, Lindsey.
I think Lindsey's got it.
Yeah, she's going.
Okay,
I'll got it.
I always wait because I'm so chatty, so obviously manage your mouth is an issue. So that was perfect. But no, that definitely stood out to me. And I think it did that whole message, because we are at home, right? So who do you tend to not manage your mouth well at? For me, it's the people I love the most. It shouldn't be like that, but it is. They're the people who can push your buttons the easiest. They're the people who you feel like will forgive you. And so it really was, that hit at a good time for me, just being here. We were really in a lull when that message came of, just the mundane day to day and starting to be so close together with no other interaction. So that definitely rang true to me, just to really, your life, there really is life or death in your words, right? And just what you say can really damage somebody in a way. And even with my 5-year-old, she's super sensitive. And if she sees me nervous or getting upset or my tone feels angry, it bothers her. And so I guess that one really hit for me. And then in the first message, he talked about what I think James really is about. It's a group of letters to us about how to be better in our relationship and our walk, right? And about maturity and how to live that way. And, I know a lot of you know this, but we lost a baby and in 2018. And so his life verse and what's become our family verse is that very first book of James, where it says, consider it all joy when you encounter trials of various kinds. And I've talked about this, and it's super hard to find joy in those times. But when you really learn to lean in and know that Jesus is enough and that you can grow in your faith, and so that really always stands out to me too. Just what James really, the whole book of James is about. It's about our walk and about our maturity and about growing and all those things. So those are the two things that really hit for me.
That's good.
That's good. Hey, thanks for sharing. And Lindsey, if you want to hear more of her story, I guess it was Mother's Day last year. You and I sat down for a conversation about that. You can find that on our website. And it was a great conversation, incredible story of God's faithfulness in some really cool ways. And yeah, that consider it all joy thing is a struggle, right? And James really sets up the difference between joy and happiness, right? Or that fleeting, joy is not fleeting. And so it's like, how could I consider this thing that is such a struggle to be joy? But that's when I misplaced that reality that joy is not something that's circumstantial. It's there's a greater context to that. Yeah, because in the moment it's like, and even this experience, right? We're experiencing something together alone that, man, the world has never been more in tune with each other, right? Like since, like I can't think of another time that I'm having the same experience as someone in, in London or Italy or Iraq. Like there's a commonality between us dealing with this sort of coronavirus reality. How are we going to respond to that? I think that's a good thought for all of us, right? Is, it's not a good thing, like sickness isn't good. Pandemics aren't good. Like nobody's sitting back and like, I'm so glad this happened. But James, what would James say? Well, consider it joy. How do we find joy in that? Well, there's going to be opportunities. It's good. Jim, Dave, what else? What stood out to you?
I guess, well, going back to something you just said about people all over the world going through it, I did touch base with our global guys today in Pakistan and Ivory Coast, and they started back last weekend, and it was pretty amazing hearing their stories of what it looked like, and it sounded exactly like the same path we're going down there, with limited capacity and all that. So it was just interesting, and like in South Africa where they can't meet yet. They're still under the restrictions, but it truly is. We're not alone. It really is everybody going through this worldwide, and just listening to some of their stories has been a little even harsher, based on what they've gone through. I think for the thing right out of the gate for me was, as we live in the world of opinion, especially right now, it's just the nature of the beast. Is the second point that was made in that first week: a mature person is sensitive to people, and I've had to. That's been, we all have our opinion. I have mine. Everybody has theirs, and they're all different, especially right now. And I at times I think we begin to think that people really do need to think the way we are. And as a Christian, I do need to respect that opinion because they have a basis for that. And sometimes I can quickly fly to, that's maybe not the right answer, but we all have to be sensitive to that. And I think that was pointed out very well. And then also what was important. This is like a blueprint. I think Alan mentioned that too. James is such a blueprint for how we should act and behave and live our lives as Christians. But the other part is prayer. Prayer. There couldn't be a more important thing that we do right now is prayer. And I like the part about having. For me, I have to have a plan. I just go all over the place. And if in a system, I think he mentioned also a system for your prayer list and for keeping up with that. And, through all that, the Lord reminded me that, because I do tend to, even when I pray, go all over the place. But He gave us a great model in the Lord's Prayer. And if we can use that, and I've got a little Lord's Prayer that I've had for 35 years that I got in Texas when we lived out there. And I've gone back to that. And it just tees up how to pray and how to, praise the Lord in your prayer, and how to, and then what to specifically pray for, and then end again in praise. And if I follow that model, it works every time. So that's been a couple of things for me.
That's good. Yeah, I think, man, how quickly some of our models and stuff got broken, right? Our flow in this season. And so, man, but having a plan, I think, is so helpful, right? And people are critical sometimes of churches and organizations that have plans and make, it's like, oh, can you plan and listen to the Holy Spirit? If you need to just turn on a dime, and it's like, man, we can't do that. Like, there's a lot of moving pieces, right? If all of us were just like, we'll just do what we feel like doing, like, we've got to come together, right? Like you mentioned, even just every day, the leadership team getting together on Zoom and just connecting with each other has been so helpful to keep us from just like zigzagging everywhere, and acting with some direction is helpful when there's so much that's out of our control. That's been a struggle for me. Just like, I like going to coffee shops and working, and I like haven't done that in so long. And I miss that, and I miss that flow. And I'm like at home, which I'm used to working from home, but I'm not used to working from home with my kids. And that's not the same thing. School from home, and there needs to be a different category for this.
Yeah.
But I do think, when we can, right, follow the model of Jesus, when we can consider those things like the Lord's Prayer, when we can act and walk in faith and in that joy, it's going to give us a rhythm that we can do, right? It's like we do what we can, and then we'll make the best of what we can't. That's good stuff. Dave, what about you?
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing that stood out to me is kind of like you, Lindsey. Same thing was the part about the mouth, and I'm the type of person, that says what you think, and sometimes that's not too good, is it? If you want to know what I think, just ask me. And I have to be careful of what I say and how I say it. I know, especially in my past, how many times have I put my foot in my mouth when I should have kept it shut. I know, especially a lady that she's a worship leader at Bethany Martin at our Bristol campus. We're in our circle together, and her and I was the kind of, we're just at each other all the time, kidding and cutting up and everything. And I know when I was at the Bristol campus one Sunday after church, we were just going at each other, just in fun of cutting up and carrying on. And as we were leaving, my little granddaughter came up to me and says, why were you and Bethany mad? Why were y'all fussing at each other? I said, we were just cutting up. And I said, how many people around us at church that day might have heard me and heard us and thought that we were serious, just like my little granddaughter was. And I said, it made me mindful that I have to be careful of where I'm at, what I'm saying, and how I'm saying it. And, especially here, kind of like you were talking there, James, especially here, with us working from home so much and being with my wife a lot. Sometimes, we get tempted to kind of get on each other's nerves as what we say sometimes and how we say it. And I will say something, and she'll say, no, wait, that's not how I meant it, but that's how it sounded. So, we have to be careful of what we say and how we say it a lot of times.
Yeah, that's good. And I think it's just a good reminder too. Yeah, that even things that right? Bethany are just joking with each other, but to someone else, they're like, "What is wrong with them?" Like, well, and there is a consideration for sure of other people. And man, I keep going back to that idea of really all the way back into Genesis, right? When with Cain and Abel, right? And God comes to him and he says, he's killed his brother. But he said, am I my brother's? Do you know where he is? He said, well, am I my brother's keeper? It's like, yes, we are. We are here for each other. And there is a call on our lives to care for one another that I think we're sometimes too easy to shake that off and be like, well, I got to take care of this for me. But so many times throughout the scripture, we see Jesus modeling that with other people, right? That he has time for children, right? Which in that culture, right? Like, I think we even read those stories and we're like, Jesus is nice. And like, he is, right? He is very kind, but like, to notice them was this act of like, well, you're too important for that, or to notice a leper or someone in need or, a Samaritan person, right? We see Jesus noticing those people around them. And, I think, if we can come away from this opportunity when we can be more together in public to see each other, to see those needs, like we would be better for that, right? Like, let's not just go back to walking around. I mean, I'm guilty of this too, right? You're walking around, you're just like on your phone, always looking at your phone. I don't know. I mean, it's bad, right? But it's like, I got stuff to do. It makes me think about this quote from Francis Chan, and it always stuck with me. He said, God may be more interested in what you're doing in the next 10 minutes than the next 10 years. Yeah. We have this, life plan. God's going to do something great in me. And like, that's true. Like, we do believe that and we want that. But what is God calling us to do, like today, right? What's God calling us to do in those moments of that mundane? James makes it very clear, right, that our faith without those actions it's dead. It's no good, right? Doesn't mean that we're not like saved. You know, there's always these debates about like, oh, does James say that we should have to earn our salvation? It's like, no, it's just more of like a fact, right? If you have faith and you don't do anything with it, it's no good. And yeah,
James, I think one of the thing I've noticed during this time is we've tried, especially now that it's warmed up, go outside more, and I've gotten to know my neighbors better, just by taking time and again being sensitive to, and they open up, and I've learned to listen better instead of, like you mentioned, being in that rush. Hey, how you doing? Gotta go. See you. But listening, and that's actually been that's taught me a lot going through here, that I haven't done that as well in the past. And we're getting to know each other better, and but just being sensitive, because they've got some unique needs that I've never really probably paid as much attention to maybe as I should. So yeah.
I think that's so true. I hope when we come out of this collectively together, we've all learned to slow down. I think that's one thing that, especially here in our culture where we live, we're so hurried from dance practice to basketball game to whatever it is that's going on in your life. We're so planned out that we haven't had that time. So it's been good, like, to know my neighbors, just like you said, they're home too, right? They're here, and that we're seeing each other in the yard because everybody's home. So that's been good. But also just the little people around my table, right? Sometimes our days get so rushed, and we're eating dinner in the car, but just that less hurried time to really have the conversations around the table that we need to. And I hope collectively when we come out of this, that's something we take away, is how important relationships are. We do need each other. And so I hope that that's one thing that we can all hang on to.
Yes.
I think that's good. That's great. Yeah, I know for me, like, moment of confession, there are way more kids on my street that are in my children's class than I knew. And it's like, oh, there's so and so, and they're seeing them outside, and I'm like, oh, are they in your? Do they go to your school? Oh, they're in my class. It's like,
really?
Oh, that's awesome. So like we've made these connections, but and on the inside, I'm like, I should have known that. Like I should have known who my neighbors are, but I didn't. But hey, I know they're there now, right? And so I want to continue to engage with them, and in the days to come and time to come as they're in school together, to help them connect with kids, because I didn't even think about it, right? Because like you said, Lindsey, like we're super busy, and my kids have stuff and I have stuff, and it's like I'm just like chauffeuring them around all the time. That's what it feels like. As I'm an Uber driver, I just don't get paid for it. Just take my kids around all the time, and not right now though. I've only spent I think I've spent $30 in gas in 2 months. So it's beautiful. Man, this is good. Anything else just that stuck out from James that you want to get in before we close the chapter on the book of James? Hey, that was good. Let's do this. I thought about this question, and I think it'll be fun. This is a little lighthearted because this is some serious discussion. So, what's something that you have enjoyed? Like, what's a good quarantine snack for you? Something you've enjoyed eating or like drinking during this time. For me, it has been like chips and salsa or cheese dip. Like, I just want that every day. Like, I could just eat like. Maybe it's because I miss going to Mexican restaurants. So I miss that for sure. What's something that you guys have enjoyed at home, maybe that you haven't eaten as much before?
Okay.
Lindsey, you can go.
So we are not chunky over here because this mama doesn't know how to cook. So now I've had time to do all the cooking, which is bad, right? But Donna Puckett shared her bread starter with me early on. And so I've been making homemade bread, which my family has loved. And so so that's been fun. And just to pull out some old school recipes like that I just normally don't have time to do. So I've made my grandma's gravy and biscuits and just some of that home cooked stuff. And my family has really loved that for sure. And like I think I mentioned to James before, but my 5-year-old eats 47 snacks a day. Like I have no clue how they make it at school. school. So her favorite snack is anything that we have. So we've had to kind of close down the pantry. But I've just enjoyed just having the time to actually cook for my family and make some of those home cooked things that are kind of part of our heritage, right? And so that's been kind of fun for us.
I love it. Yeah, you've traded in like the air fryer, the Instant Pot for the crock pot. You know, it's like, we got time.
Yeah,
we can let this cook.
Doing it from scratch. I made it from scratch, peanut butter milk cake. And so I thought, hey, my grandma would be really proud if she could look back now and see that. So that's been fun.
I love that. That's awesome. That's a great family tie-in and reminder. Jim, Dave, any good snacks that you've been enjoying during this time?
Dave, go ahead. You look like you're dying.
Okay. Well, when it comes to eating, this old boy can eat about anything. You know, I'm not particular. Of course, I'm a big chocolate holic. I love chocolate, but the one thing that I've eaten during this time, I love dill pickles. And my daughter told me, I think she was at Aldi's, and said they had dill pickle popcorn. And so my wife went and got some, and I loved it. It was good. So I've eaten the dill pickle chips, but she got me a bag, and so I'm gonna go get me some more the dill pickle popcorn and eat it. So but of course now I've got a little small popcorn popper here at the house, and several nights a week watching TV or something other, Deb will pop popcorn, and we will eat popcorn. And not only am I a chocoholic, and some of you may not like me hearing saying this, but I'm also a saltaholic. So I like a lot of salt in anything that I eat. And she'll say, well, you haven't even tasted it yet. And I said, well, I don't need to. I know it needs it. But of course, I'm going to have a salt on my popcorn. So I like a good salty popcorn. So enjoy that.
You already know that it needs salt. See, that's how I am. That's how I am with hot sauce. It used to make my wife really sad because she's like, I made this like food, and you're just like dumping hot sauce and pepper on it. She's like, you don't even know if it's good. I'm like, I know that it will be good. I just know that I'm going to need hot sauce on this.
Yeah.
We returned to our Texas days when we were trying to feed those two boys. So we've gone back to taco salad, and I love to make taco salad, but I make it with bison instead of with hamburger meat, and then with protein chips. You can with nacho cheese, so you can actually make it, pretty healthy.
Semi-healthy.
Semi-healthy, yeah, with all the other ingredients in there too. But I love salsa. And then the other part, the snack has been flourless peanut butter cookies. So you make it with peanut butter and like Swerve or whatever your sweetener is going to be, an egg and a little vanilla, and you just mash all that stuff up, make little cookies, and bake it, and they're good.
Man, I'm hungry. Now I'm hungry. We need to have like a staff quarantine cookbook we can share.
Yeah.
I do love all the bread stuff. That's been, my mom's been making sourdough bread. It seems like everybody has been like, it's their pet project, right? It's like, oh, I got to get up and like, I don't even know all the things you have to do. You have to like burp them, and I don't know.
It's a living organism in your refrigerator.
Yeah.
You have to feed it, you have to stir it, you have to split it. It's a lot of things.
Sounds like some sort of, I don't know, Pokemon or something. You got to handle it. It's like, oh, my bread's alive. That's awesome. Man, thank you guys so much for being on here today. This was great. I hope that everyone enjoyed our series, Faith in the Fire. If you missed any of them, you can go back and catch them on our website. There are 5 of them. So you can go back and check out those, and we're moving on to more things at Highlands Fellowship. So I hope you'll stick with us. Got some great stuff coming up next week. Craig Barber himself will be bringing the message. It's going to be really, really good. Don't want to miss that. But hey, let me thank you guys for being here. Lindsey, thank you so much for being on Around the Table, and also Dave Cross making his second appearance. Always good.
Back.
Glad to have him back. And Jim, you did so good. I don't know what you're worried about.
You're so kind.
It was good. Hey, we are glad to have you guys. And thank you all for watching. If you're watching live on Facebook, maybe you're watching on YouTube or hearing this on our podcast, you can reach out if you have any questions. We'd love for you to ask some questions as well. And we'll be back next Thursday with another episode of Around the Table. So have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.